Imagine your mind right now. Like, just take a second and actually observe the machinery up there.
Good luck with that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're, like most of us, just trying to survive in the modern world, it is constantly buzzing. It's this mechanism that, well, it never really powers down.
No, it really doesn't.
You've got 1,000 different thoughts competing for your attention at any given millisecond. You're processing a conversation you had yesterday. You're projecting some anxiety about a meeting tomorrow.
Running through the grocery list.
Right. All while anticipating the inevitable ping of your smartphone. It is moving a mile a minute. So I want you to imagine what would actually happen, what it would physically, biologically, and energetically feel like if you could take that internal dial and just deliberately crank it all the way down to absolute zero.
Which is a super compelling thought experiment. Because we are so incredibly conditioned to that noise, the idea of true zero feels almost unnatural to us.
It really does.
In Western society, we sort of equate relentless mental activity with being alive, with being productive, To stop the cognitive machinery entirely, well, it feels like a violation of our modern survival instincts.
Yeah, we think we need that anxiety to keep us safe. And that is exactly the friction we are plunging into today. So, okay, let's unpack this. For this deep dive, we are pulling from a remarkably unique source.
Really unique.
It's a comprehensive framework laid out by Osman. He is widely known online as the blind Muslim yogi.
And his background is it's fascinating.
It completely frames everything we're about to discuss.
Yeah.
So Osman is an entrepreneur, a yoga and meditation teacher, and crucially, a bioenergy healer on a master level.
Right, the master level designation is important here.
Exactly. And before we get into his philosophy, we have to talk about his background. First, he has been practicing advanced yoga and meditation for 50 years.
50 years! Just let that sink in.
Yeah. He attained his first samadhi experience at the age of 19. And during certain stages of his life, he was practicing up to 18 hours a day.
Which is an astonishing volume of deliberate practice. It really contextualizes the level of mastery we are talking about here.
And even now, he maintains a rigorous practice of like 8 to 10 hours a day, which he describes as just sharpening the sword.
Right. And he studied extensively across various schools of thought, from the Far East, the Middle East, and the West. He even mentions studying the Divine Life Society, like the works of Swami Sivananda.
Yeah, it's this massive synthesis of global ancient sciences.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a very specific, really poignant detail about Osman that listeners need to know right off the bat.
Right, regarding his eyesight.
Yes. He has been permanently blind since May 2023. But when you listen to him or read his material, you'll notice he frequently uses highly visual descriptions.
He talks about light, colors, physical space, stuff like that.
Exactly. And he does this because he had normal eyesight for his entire life prior to the 2023. So he's translating these profound energetic concepts using the visual language he acquired over decades.
That sensory transition really adds a fascinating layer to his teachings, especially when you consider his core mission. He is actively working to demystify these really complex ancient protocols.
He wants to present them with a scientific, result-based methodology.
Yeah, to revive these lost sciences to help modern society improve health, relationships, peace of mind. And he approaches all of this through the lens of bioenergy healing,
which he specializes in, specifically for critical care, recovery, and terminal illnesses.
But we need to be incredibly clear on this point right out of the gate.
Absolutely. Osman states unequivocally, and we are echoing it here, that his services are entirely complementary.
They are not a replacement for licensed medical treatment.
Right. If you have a medical condition, you see a doctor. Full stop. Osman's work is designed to enhance and support the biological healing process by addressing what might be lacking energetically.
And he has a very high success rate in this specific domain. He utilizes telepathic healing capabilities based on the principles of quantum entanglement.
Which sounds wild at first, right? Quantum entanglement healing.
It does. But the quantum entanglement aspect is actually a profound mechanism to consider. I mean, in physics, quantum entanglement describes how two particles can be intimately linked so that the state of one instantly influences the state of the other.
Regardless of the physical distance between them.
Exactly. Einstein famously called it spooky action at a distance. And Osman is essentially applying this theoretical physics framework to biological energy systems.
If consciousness and subtle energy operate at a quantum level, well, distance becomes completely irrelevant to the transmission of healing energy.
Right. And because of the intensive energy required and his 50 years of expertise, his direct healing consultations and treatments are at a premium level.
Yeah, as he notes, they are not inexpensive.
But he also provides a ton of value for free.
He really does. For our listener, if you want to explore his methods, you should visit his website at yogawellness786.com. He offers extensive advice on his YouTube channel entirely for free.
He does not withhold information there.
No, he doesn't. If you want paid live online lessons or one-on-one consultations or group sessions, he has a Patreon. But most importantly, right now on his website, you can download a free 5-minute yoga and meditation program.
Which is the perfect place to start.
Exactly. So with all of that foundational context established, let's look at the core architecture of his philosophy regarding the mind.
Because it is a radical departure from conventional self-help.
Radical is an understatement, honestly. I always thought of the mind as an idea generator, like a tool.
Right, a very useful tool.
But Osman starts with a premise that threw me for a loop. He says the mind is an obstacle, period.
Just fundamentally in the way.
Yeah. He argues that as long as your mind is hyperactive, higher spiritual consciousness, what he calls universal energy, simply cannot descend into your body in any substantive way. It's almost like a physical blockade.
What's fascinating here is how it forces us to confront how we view consciousness itself. In modern society, we generally view the mind as the ultimate vehicle for achieving higher states.
We think we have to think our way out of our problems.
Exactly. We try to intellectualize peace. We read 20 books on mindfulness, hoping to logically deduce enlightenment. But Osman is framing the mind not as the vehicle, but as the barricade.
He treats the energetic body and the mind as a single, interconnected hydraulic system.
That hydraulic system analogy makes so much sense when you look at the visualization he provides.
Right. He asks you to imagine a pure light, a universal consciousness coming from the very top of your head, and is trying to pour down and fill your entire physical body.
This energy is constantly pressing against you, trying to get in.
But the mechanism that controls the valve isn't your physical posture. It's not how perfectly you're sitting in a lotus position. It's the activity of your thoughts.
The calmer you become, the greater, the faster, and the denser the flow of this cosmic energy becomes.
The intention to meditate, just sitting down and closing your eyes, that initiates the process. But the actual accelerator pedal for this energy is pure calmness.
Stillness creates the vacuum that pulls the universal energy in.
But I was struggling with the mechanics of this at first. Like, how does a non-physical thought block a flow of energy?
It's a fair question.
If I have a kinked garden hose, the blockage is physical rubber. If my Wi-Fi is blocked, it's usually a concrete wall. But in Osman's framework, the thing blocking this massive cosmic flow is a worry about my taxes.
Right.
How does abstract anxiety create an actual barrier?
To understand that, we have to look at the intersection of neuroscience and ancient philosophy. Let's look at the Huberman Lab podcast, for example.
Oh, I love Professor Andrew Huberman's stuff.
Right. He frequently discusses the default mode network, or DMN, in the brain. In his episode with Dr. Sam Harris, they did this deep dive on the science of meditation.
Oh, yeah, that was a great conversation.
They break down how the DMN is incredibly active when we are mind-wandering or worrying about the past or anticipating the future.
Basically, whenever we aren't focused on the present task.
Exactly. And this neural network consumes a massive amount of metabolic energy. It creates measurable electrical and chemical turbulence in the brain.
So a thought isn't just nothing.
Exactly. A thought is a highly energetic event. Osman is saying that this turbulence is the barrier.
So it's not a physical wall. It's a field of turbulence, like acoustic dampening.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
If you want to hear a subtle, beautiful piece of music from another room, but you're standing next to a running jet engine, you aren't going to hear the music. The sound waves of the engine are scrambling the subtle waves of the music.
That's a highly accurate way to visualize it. When your mind is wildly jumping around, it creates profound turbulence in your personal energetic field.
Imagine trying to pour a smooth, steady stream of water into a pool that is just churning with violent waves.
The incoming water gets dispersed and scattered immediately, but if the pool is glass-like, perfectly still, the new water flows in and integrates seamlessly.
This aligns perfectly with what Yogananda talks about in Autobiography of a Yogi.
Yes. Yogananda describes Kriya Yoga as a method to quiet the sensory turbulence, so the subtle currents of life force can actually be perceived in the spine.
Thought creates turbulence.
Yep.
Silence creates a receptive vessel.
And this isn't just a Western scientific realization either. If you look at the Ranveer show...
Oh, Beer Biceps podcast.
Right, the super popular Indian podcast. He had a fascinating conversation with Swami Mukundananda about mind management.
I think I saw a clip of that.
The Swami articulated the ancient Vedic view that the mind is literally a material substance, albeit a very, very subtle one. It's called Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body.
So when Osman says thoughts block energy, he means it almost literally.
Yes. The subtle matter of the mind is agitated, creating an impermeable layer.
Okay, if we accept this premise, that a calm mind opens the valve and a busy mind closes it, it raises a massive question.
Which is?
If this universal energy is literally everywhere and it's constantly trying to flow into us, why am I completely oblivious to it?
Right.
When I walk down the street, why don't I feel a giant column of cosmic light pressing on my head?
Osman addresses this logical leap head-on. He explains that we cannot perceive this flow because our subtle senses are entirely dormant.
We suffer from the tragic numbness of the modern human.
We really do. We rely so heavily on our 5 physical senses, sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, that we've allowed our subtle interoceptive senses to atrophy.
Or maybe in modern society, they were never really activated to begin with.
Probably the latter. Osman points out that as you practice using his free 5-minute program, these subtle senses actually begin to awaken.
When they do, you don't just imagine the energy, you feel it physically.
He describes it as a wind, a current, or a powerful magnetic field moving up and down the spine.
It transitions from a philosophical concept into a visceral, tangible experience. But to get a skeptic to understand why they can't feel it right now, Osman provides what I consider to be one of the most brilliant analogies regarding human biology and perception.
Oh, the heartbeat analogy.
Yes, the heartbeat analogy. When I read this in the source material, it completely reframed my understanding of the human body.
It's so good.
Osman points out a simple, undeniable biological fact.
Yeah.
You have a heart. It's located near the core of your body. It is roughly the size of your fist, and it is a muscle.
And since before you were even born, this fist-sized muscle has been violently pumping, contracting, and relaxing nonstop.
And the mechanical force required for that is immense.
It is pushing a thick, viscous liquid blood against the force of gravity all the way up to your brain and pushing it through miles of microscopic capillaries down to your toes.
It's a violent percussive action happening right in the center of your chest. And yet, unless you just ran a sprint or you are having a panic attack, you do not feel it.
You are entirely oblivious to this massive mechanical event inside you.
Why? Osman explains that our minds are so distracted by 1,000 external thoughts that we have literally conditioned our experience of our own heartbeat out of our reality.
The mind just deletes it.
It's crazy.
This touches on the neuroscience of interoception, which is how our brain perceives the internal state of the body. There is a phenomenon called sensory gating.
Sensory gating.
Yeah. The brain is highly efficient. It filters out repetitive, constant stimuli so it can preserve cognitive bandwidth for new threats or opportunities.
Like if you live next to a train track, eventually you stop hearing the trains.
Exactly. Your brain gates the sound out.
Uh-huh.
Osman is pointing out the tragic cost of this gating when it comes to our internal world.
I actually heard an incredible discussion about this on the Mel Robbins podcast. She had Dr. Russell Kennedy on to talk about anxiety.
Oh, I've heard of his work.
Yeah. And he argued that much of our anxiety is actually unresolved somatic alarm in the body that the brain misinterprets. We are profoundly disconnected from our interoceptive signals.
Because of that gating.
Right. And in another episode with Dr. Judd Brewer, they discussed how habit loops in the mind completely detach us from what the body is actually feeling in the present moment.
That disconnection is exactly what Osman is highlighting. If our cognitive filter is powerful enough to completely delete the sensation of our own physical heart forcefully squeezing in our chest,
Which is a huge physical event.
right, then it stands to reason that we are entirely numb to the much subtler magnetic flows of cosmic energy he is describing.
It really puts it in perspective. If I can tune out a physical pump in my chest, what other massive universal forces are moving through me right now that I simply don't have the bandwidth to perceive because I'm stressing out about an email?
You see a similar exploration on Joe Rogan's podcast when he talks with people like Sam Harris about the nature of consciousness.
Oh, they get deep into that.
They discuss how our perception is just a highly curated evolutionary user interface. We don't see reality. We see the dashboard our brain creates to keep us alive.
That makes total sense. Osman's framework suggests that meditation is the systematic dismantling of that filtered dashboard.
As the mind calms, the sensory gating relaxes. The subtle senses wake up.
And what happens when that numbness fades? You start to feel things again. You feel the cosmic flow, but you also feel your own biology.
Which is a wild shift.
Osman notes that as your mind silences, you don't need a stethoscope to hear your heart. You don't need to put two fingers on your wrist. You just sit there and you can feel every single beat.
You can calculate your own heart rate just by observing the internal sensation.
But here is where we bridge from perception into actual physiology. When you reach this state of profound stillness, observing the heart actually changes its behavior.
Right, we are moving out of the realm of subjective awareness and into hard biological metrics.
The act of calming the mind doesn't just change how you feel, it alters the mechanical engine of the body.
And the numbers he provides are just staggering.
Conventional medical science states that a healthy resting heart rate is somewhere around 60 to 100 beats per minute, usually averaging around 72.
That's the baseline for a normal human.
Osman notes that as meditation progresses, in a relaxed, seated position, it naturally drops to 60 beats per minute.
Which is a solid athletic resting heart rate. It shows a decrease in cardiovascular workload and an increase in parasympathetic nervous system dominance.
But the descent doesn't stop there. As the mental turbulence clears and the flow of cosmic energy becomes denser, the heart rate drops to 40 beats per minute.
40 is incredibly low.
Then 38. And eventually Osman states that an advanced practitioner can easily perceive a remarkably slow 20 beats per minute.
20. That is one single heartbeat every 3 seconds.
From a Western allopathic standpoint, if a patient walks into a clinic with a heart rate of 20 beats per minute, it is classified as profound bradycardia.
Oh, it's treated as a medical emergency because the assumption is that the pump is failing and the brain isn't getting enough oxygen.
But in the context of this ancient yogic science, a 20 BPM heart rate isn't a failure. It is the hallmark of ultimate systemic optimization.
But how is that biologically sustainable? If my heart only beats 20 times a minute, shouldn't I be passing out?
You would think so. But Osman explains that this happens because, assuming the practitioner has a correct diet and well-toned organs, the body's metabolism shifts.
The energy requirements of the body become incredibly efficient.
The heart is just a delivery system for oxygen and nutrients, specifically to aid in cellular respiration and the synthesis of ATP, the body's energy currency.
When your mind is racing, your body is in a state of low-grade sympathetic arousal. Cortisol and adrenaline are elevated.
Your muscles have microtensions?
Right. Your brain, which usually consumes about 20% of your body's energy, is running hot. The body is burning energy inefficiently, like a car idling at 5,000 RPM.
So the heart has to pump 72 times a minute just to deliver enough oxygen to sustain that wasteful burn rate.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
So when you calm the mind and open that energetic valve, the turbulence stops. The muscles deeply relax. The brain's default mode network quiets down.
Suddenly, the biological engine requires drastically less fuel.
Exactly. Furthermore, Osman suggests that this incoming cosmic energy acts as a supplemental fuel source.
Deepak Chopra has written extensively about this in his concept of quantum healing.
Oh, right, quantum healing.
He argues that at a fundamental level, the body is a network of information and energy, not just chemical reactions. If the body is metabolizing universal energy efficiently, the physical mechanism, the heart, simply doesn't need to work as hard to sustain biological life.
It's literally lowering the mechanical wear and tear on your body's engine.
Lewis Howes explored a version of this on the School of Greatness podcast when he interviewed Wim Hof.
The Iceman.
Yeah. Wim demonstrated how conscious control of the breath and mind could fundamentally alter the autonomic nervous system and immune response, dropping the body into states of profound metabolic efficiency.
Osman is describing a similar mechanism, but driven by cosmic energy rather than hyperventilation.
The implications for longevity are profound. I mean, if your heart is beating 50 million fewer times over the course of a decade because it's resting in a state of efficiency, you are extending the functional lifespan of the physical mechanism.
Swami Vivekananda wrote about this over a century ago.
He did, noting that the breath and the heart are tied directly to the agitation of the prana, or life force. Calm the prana, and the heart rests.
Which begs an incredible question. If deep relaxation and the flow of this cosmic energy can drop a human heart rate to 20 beats per minute, what is the absolute biological limit of this science? Where is the floor?
The trajectory leads to endpoints that completely challenge our modern definitions of life, death, and consciousness.
Osman explains that advanced yogis can reach a state where their breathing and their heart rate completely stop. 0 beats per minute.
0.
He casually notes that at this extreme level, if you hooked a practitioner up to an ECG machine, they would flatline.
Western medicine would declare them legally dead.
while they're actually just in a state of profound, absolute relaxation.
This state is known in ancient sciences as samadhi. It is the complete absorption of the individual consciousness into the universal consciousness.
But here is the paradigm shift that Osman delivers. And it honestly made me drop the transcript when I read it.
It's a huge shift.
In the West, we hear the word samadhi, and we equate it with the ultimate finish line. We think, okay, your heart stopped, you've merged with the universe, you've achieved enlightenment, game over, you won.
But Osman explains that samadhi is actually just the first higher level.
Wes.
It's a staggering recontextualization of human potential. We view enlightenment as the summit of the mountain. Osman views it as base camp.
He provides the math for this energetic architecture. He states there are a total of 100 or 101 levels of evolution.
Reaching what we call enlightenment or samadhi, that's just hitting levels 99 to 101 on his scale.
And mastering these highest levels is not something you achieve at a weekend retreat in Sedona.
No, definitely not.
He explicitly states that it takes centuries. It is impossible to fully comprehend or experientially understand these levels within a single normal human lifespan.
This directly echoes the writings of Gopi Krishna and the psychological evaluations of Dr. Bonnie Greenwell.
I think they've discussed her work on some of those awakening podcasts.
Yeah, both of them have been discussed on Rick Archer's podcast, Buddha at the Gas Pump. Rick has interviewed hundreds of spiritually awakened people.
It's a massive archive of experiences.
When you listen to guests like Angelo DeLullo or Craig Holliday on that show, a recurring theme is that awakening is not a static endpoint. It is the beginning of a relentless, never-ending deepening of realization.
Rainn Wilson touched on this in his Soul Boom podcast, too. He had Reza Aslan on, and they discussed how different religions conceptualize the afterlife or spiritual evolution.
Rainn is a Baha'i, right?
Yeah, and their framework suggests spiritual evolution continues eternally after physical death. Osman is presenting a highly technical, yogic version of that eternal evolution.
It completely humbles the modern, commodified approach to wellness. We live in an era of instant gratification.
We want a smartphone app that will cure our generational trauma and grant us enlightenment during our 15-minute commute.
Osman is presenting a science that requires a multi-century evolutionary endeavor.
It makes you realize how infantile our understanding of human potential might actually be. But as mind-blowing as it is to think about an advanced yogi with a flatlined ECG meditating for 300 years, I have to push back on behalf of our listener.
Let's do it.
If you are sitting in traffic right now or folding laundry and you hear that the finish line takes centuries to reach, what is the practical value of starting today?
Why bother, right?
Exactly. Why should I download Osman's free 5-minute program and try to open this valve if I'm not going to finish the race in this lifetime?
That is the crucial pivot. Osman doesn't just leave us in the esoteric clouds, he immediately grounds the science in the immediate, tangible architecture of the energetic body.
The flow of this cosmic energy facilitates profound physical transformation right here, right now.
You don't have to wait lifetimes to reap the physiological benefits.
Let's unpack the mechanics of that healing. Osman says that when your mind slows down and that universal energy from the top of the head is allowed to flow into your body, it acts as a remarkably potent repair mechanism.
He says it lights up all the blocked chakras and removes blockages in the astral tubes, which are known in yogic science as the nadis.
To demystify the concept of nadis, let's look at it through the lens of modern anatomy.
Okay, lay it out.
We understand the physical nervous system, a network of pathways transmitting electrical signals. We also have the fascial system, a web of connective tissue enveloping every muscle and organ, which scientists are now realizing conducts electricity and stores structural memory.
The nadis are the subtle energetic equivalents of these networks. They are the channels through which prana, or life force, flows.
On the Ranveer Show, Dr. David Frawley discussed Ayurveda and the nadis at length.
Dr. Frawley is brilliant on this stuff.
He explained that just as physical arteries can get clogged with cholesterol plaque, the nadis get blocked by unresolved trauma, chronic stress, poor diet, and most importantly, according to Osman, turbulent hyperactive thinking.
Stephen Bartlett explored a very similar concept on The Diary of a CEO with guests like Dr. Tara Swart and Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Oh, the Joe Dispenza episodes are always wild.
They talked about how the body physically stores emotional stress. Chronic mental turbulence triggers inflammatory responses that literally lock up the body's tissues.
So the active mind creates the energetic turbulence. The turbulence creates blockages in the nadis.
And the blocked nadis manifest as physical tension or illness. You essentially have a kink in the hose of your vital energy.
When you meditate, even for just the 5 minutes, Osman suggests, you calm the mind and open the main valve. The cosmic energy rushes in, and the sheer force and purity of that energy acts like a cosmic plumber.
It flushes out the astral tubes.
And Osman outlines very specific, tangible results that a practitioner will notice as these tubes clear. First, he promises a massive increase in energetic feeling.
You simply have more baseline vitality. It's what Tony Robbins talks about when he discusses priming and changing your physical state.
Yes. When the energy flows, the state elevates naturally without forced psychology.
But the physical healing aspect is where Osman's expertise as a master bioenergy healer really shines.
He notes that as the nadis clear, physical ailments will quietly disappear. In fact, he says you might have illnesses you didn't even realize you had, and you only become aware of them when you notice their absence.
You wake up and realize, wait, my chronic lower back pain is just gone, or haven't had brain fog in a month.
This is the essence of his complementary healing practice. He isn't surgically removing a tumor or prescribing a pharmaceutical. He is utilizing quantum entanglement to help force that cosmic energy through the blocked nadis of his patients.
Allowing the physical body to recognize its own blueprint for health and heal itself.
He also mentions a sudden, amazing increase in physical flexibility.
Which is an interesting side effect.
Poses that were a struggle suddenly become easy. You feel lighter in your body, nimble. Now, if I have a tight hamstring, my instinct is to aggressively stretch the physical muscle tissue. But Osman is suggesting that physical tension is a downstream effect.
Exactly. The upstream cause is a blockage in the nadis. If you try to force a physical stretch while the energetic tube is blocked, you are fighting your own nervous system.
When you unblock the subtle astral tubes with cosmic energy, the physical body naturally realigns itself.
The fascia releases. The inflammation subsides.
The flexibility isn't coming from forcing the physical tissue to tear and rebuild. It's coming from restoring the optimal energetic flow that informs the tissue.
It completely flips the script on physical therapy and recovery.
It really does.
Oh.
But there is a massive catch to all of this. We know the profound benefits of the cosmic energy flow. The physical healing, the longevity of a 20 BPM heart rate, the unblocking of the nadis.
And we know we need to calm the mind to get it.
But we live in the real world. We can't sit in a quiet room with our eyes closed all day. We have jobs, we have mortgages, we have kids.
How do we maintain this optimal flow without dropping out of society and living in a cave in the Himalayas?
That is the ultimate practical challenge of ancient wisdom. How do you apply it to modern chaos?
And it leads to Osman's most crucial guidance for the everyday practitioner act of meditation. Taking the practice off the meditation cushion and bringing it into the boardroom, the grocery store, the family dinner.
Osman has a very specific instruction for this. He says we need to be strictly mindful in active states. This requires keeping a mind rigorously anchored to the current task.
If you are walking, you focus entirely on the physical act of walking. You feel your feet hitting the pavement.
You feel the air on your skin.
Okay.
You keep your mind entirely consumed by the physical reality of the present moment.
It sounds incredibly simple, but as anyone who has tried it knows, it is agonizingly difficult because of what he calls the trap of time.
The trap of time. This happens to me constantly.
Tell me about it.
Just the other night, I was washing the dishes. My hands were in the warm water. I was scrubbing a plate. But my mind wasn't in the kitchen.
Where were you?
My mind was 3 days in the past, replaying an argument I had with a colleague, thinking of all the clever things I should have said.
We all do that.
And then my mind warped into the future, stressing about an upcoming podcast recording. I was physically at the sink, but mentally, I was time traveling. Osman explicitly warns against this. He says we have to stop dreaming about the past and the future.
Because remember what we established in the very beginning. Mental turbulence blocks the valve.
Right.
If you only calm your mind for 20 minutes in the morning on a meditation cushion, you are only opening the valve for 20 minutes.
The moment you get up, start washing the dishes, and begin arguing with a phantom colleague in your head, the valve snaps shut.
The cosmic energy stops. The turbulence returns. Your heart rate spikes back to 80 BPM. The nadis begin to clog with stress hormones.
So the practice, the real work, is constantly pulling the mind back to the present moment.
Yeah.
If you're washing the dishes, just wash the dishes.
If you are listening to this deep dive, just listen. Keep the mind focused. Osman says that by doing this, you are effectively meditating while interacting with society.
In the yogic tradition, this is known as karma yoga, the yoga of action.
Swami Vivekananda wrote extensively about this. The true test of a calm mind isn't sitting in a silent, isolated ashram. It's maintaining your center in the middle of a chaotic workday.
Can you keep the valve open while answering 50 emails? Can you maintain the flow of cosmic consciousness while dealing with a toddler having a tantrum?
Rainn Wilson explored this beautifully on Soul Boom with Ratanath Swami. They talked about how spirituality isn't an escape from the world. It's a deeper engagement with it.
If you can maintain that singular focus on the present task, Osman says you are activating and allowing the flow of cosmic consciousness into your body continuously.
It reframes mindfulness from a modern corporate buzzword into a vital, energetic survival skill.
It is the active maintenance of your cosmic hydraulic system. You maintain that optimal level of flow, that biological efficiency, that active healing of the chakras and nadis, all while participating fully in modern life.
We have covered massive paradigm-shifting ground today.
We really have. We started by completely redefining the role of the mind, not as our greatest intellectual tool, but as a potential barricade, a valve that blocks the descent of universal energy.
We explored the tragedy of our dormant, subtle senses, perfectly illustrated by the interoceptive gating that allows us to entirely block out the violent, thumping reality of our own heartbeat.
We examined the physiological cascade of deep calm. We looked at how opening that energetic valve allows the body to operate with such staggering metabolic efficiency that the resting heart rate can drop naturally to 20 beats per minute.
Fundamentally altering our understanding of longevity and health.
We touched on the absolute extremes of this science, the states of samadhi, where advanced yogis flatline on an ECG.
And we learned that this enlightenment isn't the finish line, but merely the first step in a centennial scale of human evolution.
And most importantly, we brought it all the way back to the practical reality of today. We talked about unblocking the nadis to unlock immense physical flexibility and quiet healing.
Sustained by ruthlessly anchoring the mind in the present moment during our daily active lives.
It is a completely transformed view of human potential, merging quantum physics, neurobiology, and ancient yogic science.
As a reminder, to explore these ancient sciences and natural therapies further, you absolutely must visit Osman's website at yogawellness786.com.
He is the blind Muslim yogi, a master bioenergy healer who has dedicated 50 years to this practice. Go to the website and download his free 5-minute yoga and meditation program to start opening that valve today.
And remember, he doesn't withhold information on his free YouTube channel, but if you want direct guidance, his Patreon is available for paid live lessons.
The depth of his framework really does challenge everything we take for granted about the limits of our own bodies and the nature of our consciousness.
It really does.
Which leaves us with a profound, lingering question to ponder. We talked about how powerful the mind's conditioning is. We talked about sensory gating.
Tuning out our own heartbeat.
Exactly. So think about this long after you take your headphones off today. If our hyperactive minds possess the sheer power to entirely erase the physical sensation of a fist-sized muscle violently pumping inside our own chests, what breathtaking, miraculous realities of the external universe are happening right in front of us at this very second that our minds are currently blocking us from seeing?
That's wild to think about.
Thank you for joining the exploration.